Every history book lies to you. Every war, every rise, every collapse wasn't chaos. It was choreography. You think kings ruled alone? That revolutions were spontaneous? No, there's an order, an invisible one. They don't wear crowns. They don't wave flags. They initiate kings like pawns on a board and remove them just as fast. This isn't conspiracy. It's tradition, a ritual older than the written word. Ancient empires didn't just fall. They were allowed to rot. Babylon, Rome, even modern superpowers, each one infected, not from outside, but from within, by the same force. A secret priesthood that wears no robes. A cult of influence that doesn't pray, it pulls strings. They don't worship gods. They become them. Through control, through ownership, through silence. And they've left signs if you know where to look. Every pyramid, every monument, every strange alignment with stars, it wasn't coincidence. It was communication between generations of the same hidden order. An order that survived every purge, every plague. The gatekeepers of blood and fire. Power has never belonged to the masses. That illusion was crafted carefully by the very ones who've always held the real scepter. Not the politicians, not the generals, but the ancient bloodlines who never vanished. They just learned to operate behind glass, cloaked in symbols, myths, and money. They're not like you. Not biologically, not spiritually. Their ancestors were priests of flame in Sumer, necromancers in Egypt, firekeepers in Atlantis. Yes, Atlantis, the civilization wiped clean not by ocean, but by design. When Rome burned, they survived in the ashes. When Constantinople fell, they migrated with the knowledge. When a new world was discovered, it wasn't for gold or spices. It was to build the next temple, one invisible to the uninitiated. These people, they don't chase money. They control the idea of it. They don't run for office. They appoint the candidates. They don't fight wars. They draft both sides. Their control is not loud. It's surgical. They place their members in key nodes: banking, education, intelligence, media, medicine. And once they do, the rest becomes automatic. You're taught to laugh at secret societies, to scoff at ancient cults. That's not an accident. That's the first layer of programming. Ridicule the truth before it's even questioned. You've seen their signs. The all-seeing eye, the double-headed eagle, the black cube, the torch. Symbols speak louder than language. And their symbols are everywhere because their oath demands it. Every man initiated into the order must show allegiance publicly. But only the awakened can interpret what they're really saying. They used to rule from temples. Now they rule from screens, not through swords, but algorithms, not with chains, but dopamine. They don't need to burn books anymore. They just drown you in content so you never read one. And yet something's shifting. The invisible order fears one thing: the awakening of men who were never supposed to awaken. Men like you, men who feel that itch in the back of their minds, telling them there's something beneath the noise. There is, but it's not safe. This is the point of no return. The door is open, and what's on the other side will burn the lies from your skin. The architect's lie. What if I told you the world you see, your cities, your borders, your institutions, wasn't built for you, but around you, not to free you, to cage you, not with walls, but with ideas. Ideas so deeply embedded into your psyche that they feel like truth. The invisible order doesn't force obedience. It breeds it. You were taught from birth that history moves forward, that we've evolved from superstition and slavery into progress and freedom. But that's the architect's lie, because every empire that claimed to bring freedom brought chains. Every system that promised equality divided men into servants and rulers. Every revolution that shouted justice was funded by the same hands that lit the first fire. They know how to trigger collapse, because they engineer it. It's not incompetence. It's initiation. Order through chaos. Problem. Reaction. Solution. You're shown the collapse. You're guided toward panic. And then they offer the fix. But the fix is always more control. It's been happening for centuries. In 330 AD, Constantine merged church and state. not to unify people, but to encode a control system that would last 1,700 years. In 1776, a revolution was born, but so was a secret brotherhood embedded into its foundation, leaving symbols on its currency, geometry in its capital, rituals in its leadership. In 2001, the world changed overnight, but not in the direction the public thought. One tower fell in steel and ash, but another, darker tower rose, hidden in surveillance, fear, and submission. They used trauma as fuel, pain as programming, confusion as camouflage. And the masses? They march forward, eyes open but blind, hearts full of borrowed outrage, minds repeating the slogans they've been fed. Because they don't understand the game. But you're not like them, are you? You're listening. Because some ancient part of you remembers this isn't the first time. And in that remembering, you become dangerous. Because once a man sees the architecture of a lie, he begins looking for the exit. And those who find it, they don't return the same, if they return at all. The language of the unseen. Look around you. Every brand, every flag, every institution. It's all coded in symbols, not decoration, but declaration. A silent language not meant for the public. It speaks not to the masses, but to the initiated. Because the invisible order doesn't just control history. It controls meaning. They've buried truth inside irony. Wrapped commands in logos. Encoded ancient oaths in architecture. To the untrained eye, the pyramid on your dollar is just a shape. But to them, it's the eye of providence, the watcher, the mark of hierarchy, the symbol of enlightened rule from above. To the public, twin columns on buildings mean nothing. To the initiated, they are Boaz and Jachin, the gatekeepers of sacred knowledge, the entrance to hidden chambers beneath every major seat of power. They've transformed entire cities into rituals. Washington, D.C., a grid aligned with celestial events, Masonic geometry etched into the very layout. The city itself is a spell cast in stone. You don't live in freedom. You live inside a sigil. And yet, they taught you symbols were harmless. Cartoons, corporate logos, design. But why is the same pattern? The square and compass, the phoenix, the black cube, echoed in temples, tech companies, intelligence agencies, and global summits. Because they aren't separate. They are branches of the same tree. And the roots? They go deep, back to the mystery schools of Egypt, the blood rites of Canaan, the darkened halls beneath the library of Alexandria. Places where truth was never lost, only sealed. This language of the unseen still speaks. You just have to remember how to listen. Every monument that towers over you, every logo you subconsciously trust, every chant repeated by the herd. It's not random. It's ritual. And when you see it, really see it, you realize something terrifying. You were never raised in a neutral world. You were initiated into a system without your consent. And now, you have two choices. Keep pretending you don't see it. Or step into the role you were born for, decoder, challenger, breaker of chains. Because when you learn their language, you stop being their subject, and you start becoming their threat. History tells you that royal bloodlines ended, that dynasties fell, that power passed hands through revolution and rebellion. But history lies. The truth? The bloodline didn't die. It disappeared on purpose. Power learned to hide itself. It shed the golden crown for a corporate logo. It traded thrones for boardrooms. It stopped ruling with swords and started ruling with systems. There is a bloodline, unbroken, protected, and expanded across centuries, that links ancient rulers to modern influencers, banking families to politicians, popes to presidents. And its survival is not luck. It is ritual. From the pharaohs of Egypt to the monarchs of Europe, they interbred to preserve something more than status, DNA. They believe blood carries memory, power, permission, and above all command. Why do you think they guard it so viciously? Why are so many elite families obsessively interconnected? Why do modern royals still marry inside their circle? Because they're not just preserving wealth. They are preserving right. In their mind, rule is inherited, not earned. To them, the rest of us, we're renters in their domain. livestock, consumers, data. Every few decades, they sacrifice one of their own publicly. A scandal, a death, a dramatic fall from grace. You think that means the system is collapsing. But it's theater, a bloodletting, a signal. You remember Diana, JFK, Epstein. These weren't anomalies. They were messages. To insiders, the ritual continues. To outsiders, stay in your place. And yet, here you are, listening, pulling on the thread, risking everything to see. You may not be of the bloodline, but the greatest threat to their order isn't blood. It's will. It's a man who sees the game and refuses to play it. And if you've made it this far, you're no longer asleep. You're remembering. So speak it now, in the comments, to solidify your awakening. I see the chain. I break the seal. Write it twice. Once for the system that caged you. Once for the man you're about to become. Because what comes next will test if you're truly ready to awaken. You were born into a war, but not a war of bombs and bullets. A war for the mind. From the moment you took your first breath, they began crafting the you they needed. Not the real you. The one who questions, who feels power in his chest, who senses the lie, but a replica, a controlled echo. This is psychological warfare disguised as education. Entertainment. Socialization. Think about it. Why do they force children to sit in rows, memorize facts, obey bells, like factory workers? Because the system isn't preparing you to lead. It's training you to submit. They killed curiosity and called it curriculum. They taught obedience and called it discipline. They rewarded silence, punished resistance, until your own thoughts began policing themselves. By age 18, most men are already neutralized, their fire extinguished, their masculinity pathologized, their potential funneled into service of machines they don't own, systems they can't question, and rituals they don't even recognize. And if you do question it, they label you. They isolate you. They flood your life with noise, dopamine, screens, distractions, sex without purpose, goals without soul. They don't need chains. They've built your prison from within. And still, there's something they can't touch. Something primal. A deep code inside the bones of men like you. It's the part that stirs when you hear truth. The part that won't shut up when everyone else is nodding along. The part that whispers, there's more than this. Don't look away. The mind they built for you is crumbling. And that terrifies them. Because when a man reclaims his mind, he becomes impossible to program. He starts seeing the patterns. He starts resisting the triggers. He stops asking permission to exist. So now I ask you, not the version of you they crafted, but the one buried beneath. Are you ready to kill the puppet they designed? Because the further we go from here, the more you'll need to be awake. Not just watching, but wielding. The order doesn't fear mass resistance. They fear one aware man who refuses to kneel. They want you to believe the world is falling apart by accident. But collapse is a ritual. Every empire that burns is a planned sacrifice. Nothing disorients the herd faster than chaos. Nothing justifies control faster than fear. They use economic crashes like hammer blows. They engineer plagues to fracture trust. They manufacture wars not to win, but to reset. The invisible order has always worked in cycles. Order, chaos, control. And we are now entering their favorite phase, collapse. But don't mistake decay for disorder. It's precise. Inflation, division, surveillance, digital ID, censorship. These are not random fires. They're fuses, lit deliberately to burn away the old and usher in the next stage. A world without cash, without privacy, without ownership. You will own nothing. You will eat the bugs. You will live in a pod. And you will smile because the algorithm will require you to. This is not the future. This is the plan. Every crisis is a tool to extract your consent. Not openly. Through exhaustion. They want you to beg for order. And when they offer their solution, digital currency, carbon passports, social credit, you'll say yes. Not because it's good, because it feels safe. But safety is the bait. The real prize is your obedience. And behind every rebuild, there's a blueprint they've had for centuries. The great work, they call it. The magnum opus, not of alchemy, but dominion. To break this spell, you must see the ritual for what it is. They set the stage. They play both sides. And they collect your energy, fear, anger, confusion, like currency. But here's the secret they don't want you to know. Collapse is not only theirs to control. It can be hijacked, because the moment you see the ritual, you can rewrite it. You can rise during the fall. You can forge clarity in the chaos. You can become the outlier they cannot predict. But only if you refuse the script. Only if you say, I see the ritual. I reject the throne they offer. The next phase is coming, and those who see it clearly will not kneel before it. There is no nation on earth untouched by them, not a single government uninfected, not one leader free from a leash. Because behind every flag, there's a brotherhood, and behind every brotherhood, a deeper shadow. They don't meet in the open. Their names are not in history books. Their faces don't appear on magazine covers, because they own the magazines. This is the Shadow Crown, not royalty by blood alone, but by initiation. A transnational cult of control, bound not by loyalty to a nation, but to each other. They swear oaths in languages older than Latin. They gather in cathedrals hollowed out beneath your cities. They don't campaign, they select the campaigners. They don't vote, they engineer your options. And every handshake, every stage debate, every election night celebration, it's all theater. Your freedom is a costume. Your choice is a coin. Heads or tails, the house still wins. They wear different masks in public. Left, right, liberal, conservative. But behind the curtain, they sit at the same table, toast the same victories, and laugh at the same deceived population. Why do you think so many leaders attend the same schools, go through the same forums, meet at the same summits? Because they are groomed, not to lead you, but to serve the order. This is why policies never change, no matter who you vote for. Why wars never end, no matter who promises peace. Why debt grows, families fracture, and surveillance expands, no matter who sits behind the desk. Because the desk is the illusion. The crown is hidden, and the brotherhood, it thrives in your apathy. It feeds on your trust. It relies on you never asking the one forbidden question. If none of these men truly rule, then who does? You've felt it. You've seen the cracks. You've watched leaders act like puppets, making decisions that defy logic, loyalty, or even survival. Because they are not serving you. They are serving the Shadow Crown. But every cult has one weakness, the light of awareness. And every time a man like you wakes up, the brotherhood loses a fraction of its spell. Keep watching. Keep remembering. Because awareness spreads like fire. And fire, my friend, is how empires fall. By now, you've started to feel it, haven't you? That something is moving under the surface of your life. A presence, a pattern, a force so quiet it goes undetected. Until you stop, go still and listen. It's not human. It's not political. It's mechanical. The system you're trapped inside is not just a cult of blood and secrecy. It is a machine, a cold, soulless mechanism designed to extract everything sacred from you, your time, your energy, your will, and convert it into compliance. It starts with convenience. Apps that know your desires before you do. Content that predicts your emotion. Entertainment that numbs your resistance. But that was just phase one. Now, the machine wants your biology. Wearables, biometric IDs, implants disguised as health miracles, pills that optimize your mood while muting your fire. And AI, it doesn't think for you. It thinks instead of you. It isn't making you smarter. It's removing the need to be. Each upgrade is a step deeper into dependency, and every dependency becomes a leash. They sell it as evolution. But evolution requires challenge. This is domestication. You are the last generation that remembers what it means to be wild, to be sovereign, to feel hunger, rage, clarity, love, without filters. The machine cannot understand spirit. That's why it must replace it. Because once your choices are automated, your words censored, your actions predicted, you cease being human. You become inventory, a node on a network, trackable, editable, erasable. That's the future they're selling. A soft prison made of screens and likes. a digital priesthood that never sleeps, an algorithmic God that punishes the rebellious and rewards the obedient with just enough pleasure to never ask for more. But here's what they didn't calculate. Men like you, men who remember, men who refuse, men who say, I was born to be more than data. You're not meant to be optimized. You were meant to be dangerous, wild, unpredictable, awake. And that's why they fear you. Because the machine beneath the skin can't process a man who knows his soul is unprogrammable. This is where the lie ends. Right here, not in some battlefield across the ocean, not in a courtroom, a capital, or protest. The real war is inside you. A silent, spiritual war for what is real. Because the final phase of the invisible order's plan isn't domination. It's replacement. Replacement of meaning, of memory, of manhood, of reality itself. They've been erasing truth slowly, pixel by pixel, replacing history with fantasy, replacing facts with feelings, replacing nature with digital simulations so perfect you forget what living feels like. They don't just want your obedience. They want your perception. Because if they can control what you see, they can control what you are. Virtual identity, synthetic emotion, digitized purpose. You'll wake up one day inside their perfect world, a sanitized, engineered utopia. No pain, no crime, no meaning, because nothing real is allowed to survive. But listen to me now. You are real. Your anger is real. Your confusion is real. Your hunger for truth is real. And that makes you dangerous. Because men who feel deeply, who remember the wildness of their ancestors, who taste truth and spit out lies, they break the simulation. The order has no weapon for a man who sees clearly. No defense against a soul that cannot be bought, programmed, or distracted. You are not powerless. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are waking up. You are remembering. And now you have a choice. One that every man who ever broke free had to make. Go back. Close the door. Pretend you never saw the cracks. Or walk forward. Into the dark. Into the fight. Into who you truly are. Because this war isn't about politics or conspiracy or even corruption. It's about the most forbidden truth of all. That you were always meant to be more than a cog in their world. You were meant to build your own. So I leave you with this. Don't just consume this message. Become it. And when the world tries to pull you back asleep, when the machine offers you comfort in exchange for your will, remember the words. I see the chain. I break the seal. Twice. Once for the man you were. Once for the man you must become. The war for the real has begun. And now you're in it.